Hello and welcome to Forgotten Temples with myself, Mr. B. I am at Muang and just have a look at this. He is an absolute giant. And for me to come here was also a gigantic journey. I was out of bed deep in the center of Cambodia on the bike, and I headed towards the mountains that separate Cambodia and Thailand. Over those mountains I went, and then many long hours lay before me to get to this site. But it is all worth it. This temple was built in the 11th century and it is known as the Lower Temple. But what is strange there is there's no higher temple. So why is that? I'll be explaining that right at the end of the video. The other thing to keep in note with this site, although huge, it was completely abandoned and left for derelict. But it was only in the last 50 years that it was reclaimed and restored. And now it is back to its former glory. And it is absolutely magnificent. So why don't you join me as we go through that ancient doorway, myself, my new hat and you, and we will see what lays within. I mean, just have a look at it. It is absolutely huge. And to think this was just abandoned is quite incredible. Now, I haven't had time to actually go inside and see what to expect and kind of line it all up a bit for you. So I'll be discovering this just as you are, step by ancient step. Oh, wow. Wow. This is absolutely incredible. It is an absolute monster. Wow. Now this side, we do know, was dedicated to the Lord Shiva. But there was also worship here of Vishnu. But primarily, this was a home to the god Shiva. Look at that green lichen on the stone. Doesn't it give it that ancient feel? Oh, wow. Oh, good Lord. I'm actually speechless. I've never seen a courtyard like this, but what you're not seeing that I'm glancing is these pools, this moat that goes all the way around, and what it's filled with is water lilies that are soon to be in bloom. Good Lord. This I'm sorry, but I just was not expecting anything on this scale. And it's so beautifully done. Even over these pools, there are these doorways. I have never, ever seen anything like this. And look at that tree on the right there. Isn't it beautiful? And also the one on the left with the canopies all sprawled out. This is just an incredibly beautiful sight. And take a moment to look at the symmetry of that pool. That's what's knocking me out, is the symmetry that's all around. This really is a place of awe. Usually I jump in my filming as we move onwards. Now up here we have a depiction of Kala. Can you see him in the centre there with the teeth? He is the god of death and of time. And what I'm going to do is take my time. What else is there as we come towards the centre? There's small rooms branching off right and left. I don't like to wiggle the camera around too much. I think it distracts. And in the centre we have what looks like the central shikras. At the moment I can see 1 and 2, but I bet you there's a third. Let's see. I never let the camera run. There it is, bingo. Or is there 4? Is there 3 or is there's 4? There is 4. Let's have a look in these and see what we can find. Well, not surprisingly, all we have left are these. The bases where statues of once great gods stood. But there's something I wish to show you. We've seen these 4 towers. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 there. But what's incredible to me is how close they are. Look at that. That is how close these are. It's literally the width of a gutter. You have to stand sideways. I have to point my cowboy boots forwards. I couldn't possibly walk sideways. And as we do so, we get to another tower. And yet again, another base, but alas, no God. It is from this vantage point we can in fact see there was a 5th tower here that came down, probably taken by tree roots as trees have grown in between its bricks. And that's quite remarkable that this was abandoned for hundreds of years, but only 1 brick tower fell. And it's usually these brick towers that are way more fragile than the big blocky stone ones. We've now come all the way through this side and we're at the opposite entranceway. Again on the right you see this magnificent tree, and I do love to see them inside temples. And there's so much to be said here. There's some beautiful carvings up above these doorways, but to me the story is all about this moat. Of course it has religious significance, but I have never ever seen one built in this shape. It's sort of built in sections. This is quite normal. This sort of like stepping effect, you know, with stones and everything. There's a reason for that. And then for engineering purposes, it does give an awful lot more strength. But also, it's kind of handy, isn't it? If you want to go down and partake of the religious waters, you can do so. And weirdly, it is this boundary that has captured me. The temple is over my shoulder with those now 4 but once 5 mighty temples. But look, you see, this has come round in a big long L shape. And at each entranceway, at each cardinal point to northeast, southwest, there is a causeway. So this is your gateway in. Then you have this nice, big, broad causeway that takes you to those temples. But after the causeway, the pattern repeats. And yet again, the water flows onward. Rarely have I spent longer trying to think of where to position the final shot for a video. Firstly, I wanted one of these doorways. The second thing I wanted was these steps, which you can hopefully see through the doorway. The third was this tree, whose roots are desperately going ever downward, trying to find the water that lays in the moat. It has been an absolutely fantastic sight. And you may ask yourself, you can say, well, look at these tens of thousands of tons of stone. How did they get them there, Mr. B? Well, do you remember me saying at the beginning of this video that this site is called the Lower City when there is none higher? Well, that is the clue, and there within lays the answer, because just opposite here is a river. And what they would have done is carved the blocks at a quarry and then by wooden raft floated them to this location and then assembled this fantastic site. So we had the answer all around us. The answer is water. Now, I very much hope you've enjoyed this quick adventure around this far off mystical place in a distant land. And if by chance you could help support me build a library of sites such as this, often neglected and forgotten, I would be truly grateful. And how you do that is go to www.patreon.com/temples. Easy as that. And as always, I conclude by wishing you absolutely nothing but, of course, the very best. You be sure to take good care now.